All right, so now let's look at APA, which is probably what many of you will use given your majors. So, again, I just want to go over that for those of us who aren't familiar. So, the general guidelines, of course, are, again, same thing 12-point font, Times New Roman, obviously American length paper, all that stuff. We were just talking, Jessica informed me that, there is no exact rule about the spaces between periods, but typically you should have two spaces after each period, after every sentence. Again, page numbers at top. The major sections and the abstract section I will only require for your essay 4. If you're using APA for essay 1, 2, and 3, you don't have to write an abstract because they're shorter papers. So, what I want, obviously, on the first page is the cover page or title page. Now, there's a few different ways to do a cover page because some will require an author's note, others will require, other professors may require an author's note, other professors may require all sorts of different kind of styles and looks, but the basic format for your cover page, in all caps, you write a shortened version of your title, then you put your name, and then university. And that's the basic aspect for the cover page. And so, again, the abstract is a brief summary of your paper. Usually, as it says here, it'll be between 150 to 250 words. A lot of times, if you're writing an academic article, though, it's going to be around 500 to 700. Almost every abstract I've ever written is about a 500 to 700 word summary, and it's just a brief summary of the essay itself with the kind of key words if you were kind of, especially it's important if you were going to publish it in an online form. And so, again, I won't require an abstract for essay 1, 2, and 3, but just note and get used to, and we'll do a few exercises later on in the semester. But for essay 4, the research project, I will have you do an abstract. So for the citations themselves, what's very important about APA, and this is where it gets very different, unlike MLA, where all the citations, no matter where the quote is, will be at the end of the sentence. In APA, the page number always follows the quote or idea, and then the date, always follows the author. So we have a few examples here. So according to Jones, and then in parentheses you put the date of publications, comma. Students often had difficulty using APA style, especially when it was their first time, end quote. So at the end of the quote, I'm going to put P period, and then the number. And notice how in MLA we don't have the P, right? Now, the issue too with APA, as I said, the citation follows the quote. It does not end at the sentence. So wherever the quote ends, that's where the citation ends. So this is a good example. Jones found, and again, Jones, parenthetical date, found students often had difficulty using APA style, end quote. The second that quote ends, you put in parentheses P period and then the page number. And then, of course, you finish off the sentence, right? Because the sentence doesn't end there, it ends over here. And so that's a very important aspect with APA. Oh, and the same goes through hand in hand, whether you are paraphrasing or quoting. Wherever their thought ends is where you put that page number, and wherever your new idea begins, then you just, whether it's in the sentence or after the paraphrase, you just continue along. So same thing goes hand in hand with a paraphrase. Whatever their idea is, if it's in whatever their idea, wherever it ends, if it's in the middle of the sentence and then you continue along, in the middle of that sentence, you need that page number. So it always follows the quote and it always follows their idea. Does that make sense, Ashley? Because that's an important question, too. Yeah, good. Yeah, so again, it doesn't matter if you're paraphrasing or quoting, it always, woo, it always follows the source material. Now, for the other example, if for some reason you didn't name the author in the sentence, you would have to have this whole thing. So, she stated, students often had difficulty using APA style, Jones, 19, page number, and then comma, and then the rest of the sentence. And so if you don't name the author in your sentence, the three components will always be Jones, and then you put comma, the date, comma, the page number. And so just note that for APA is there's almost three different ways to do it, right? If you name this author in the sentence, then have a quote. If the quote ends in the middle of a sentence, and then if you don't name the author. And again, it doesn't matter whether you're quoting or paraphrasing, wherever the source idea ends, that's where you put the citation. And again, that's for MLA, or excuse me, that's for APA. For APA 2, what's very different is the reference page. Now notice the difference between titles, right? For MLA, it's called works cited. So whatever you cite in the actual essay is what you should be citing at the works cited page. The reference list is different because the reference is anything you looked at in order to form your opinion about the topic. So, it's going to be still listed alphabetically, as it says here. But the main difference is it's anything that you look at in order to form your opinion on the subject. So, let's say, for example, in Essay 1, if you just decided to look at the Wikipedia page, right, just to get a basis for any sort of idea, right, you have to put the Wikipedia page. Even if you don't cite it, and you shouldn't cite Wikipedia in your actual essay, but if you used it to kind of just understand a few ideas, right, you're going to have to cite it in your reference page. So the basic format, and again, this is what you'll be using for Essay 1 for the citation out of the book. The basic format, you always have author's last name and then their initials. Then in parentheses, just like in the in-text citation, you put year of publication. You put the title of the chapter, in this case, title of the article. And then you actually write the word in, and then you put or excuse me, like the first initial, so it'll be L.S., I think, Bergman. And then you put in parentheses, ED, period. You put the title of the book in italics. You put the pages of the chapter, and then location and publisher. And so, note how the title, unlike MLA, is not in quotes, and whatever happens, it's punctuated as a sentence. So when we get to this example, right, so we have O'Neill, comma, JM, comma, and Egan, comma, J. Period, and then we have the date of publication. But notice this is the title of the article: Men's and Women's Gender Role Journeys, a Metaphor for Healing, Transition, and Transformation. Again, no quote, but notice how the words are not capitalized, right? The first letter of each word is not capitalized in APA. Same thing when it comes to the book itself. Since there's numerous words in the book, the first letter of each word is not capitalized. It's italicized, though. And then you actually write the letters PP, and then the page numbers, and so forth. So that's just a basic difference, a lot of important differences between APA and MLA when it gets to the work cited versus reference. And as I said, the reference page is anything you actually refer to. Oh, AA and BB just mean their initials. So like, for example, here where it says like author, comma, AA, they just mean last name, comma, first initial, second initial. So for example, here we have O'Neill, comma, J, period, M, period. That's what the AA, BB stands for, just their initials. Does that make sense? Yeah, good. But no, that's an important question because, yeah, the style guides sometimes are a bit confusing with their initials. But just remember, this is the one we want for Essay 1, article or chapter in an edited book. And then, of course, wherever else you find your source, you'll use a different source. But that's, obviously the first citation you'll need for this essay. Just to show you a sample paper, and just to kind of show you what it looks like, let's get our sample paper up here. So, if it downloads properly, let's see if it does. Oh, I do have Acrobat. I don't know why it's not working. Okay, I'm not going to download that. I guess. Okay, good. Yeah, and if you have any questions, Ashley, obviously, just email. Okay, so I don't know why the one thing's not coming up, but just note that in the sample paper, um, okay. Yeah, it's too bad I can't give you uh, an example, so let me just kind of briefly Google this. But, just the one important aspect of APA is just making sure you get down that running header, because a lot of times people actually write running head, and that's not what you need to do. So here, right, this is just, you don't put actually running head, you just put in all caps the title, and then again your title in centered, your name, your university, and again some professors will require maybe an office note or all sorts of things. And then we don't need to worry about an abstract until essay 4. But then here's what your first major page will actually look like, right? Your title in all caps, page number, then centered, you write the title again, and then you start your essay. So just again, make sure you know the kind of very subtle, if not repetitive, but very important aspects of APA. One main difference too between MLA and APA is your headings and subheadings. MLA usually does not encourage or want you to actually write headings and subheadings. What So just make a note of that. With APA 2, again when we get to the reference page, the same thing in terms of the format, right? You have the first line and then the second line tabbed. It's in alphabetical order, but just make a note of the difference between the initials, the difference between what reference mean versus works cited, and then all the subtle differences between the title formats and then the page numbers. So again, if you have any questions, always email. If not, again, always good luck formatting